So today's DH colloquium is by Derek Moore on epistemic opacity over communicable reasoning. It's already a mouthful here. So I'm very interested in this. I'm really looking forward to this. So just to introduce, Derek Moore is a consultant at Web Learning. So we ask him what he does. He always says that he is an ed techie, and I still have to figure out exactly what it means. But ed tech refers to new technological implementation in the classroom, so in the context of education. And as such, most of his work is in the space of educational technology, instructional design, and digital humanities. He's also passionate about open access and aims to make his work as open and accessible as possible, which I very much appreciate, Derek. For example, in the context of the Open Educational Resources, OER, and Open Educational Practices, OEP. So I'm not sure exactly if you're going to talk about the openness. I think you're going to talk about something else, but that's fine as well. I'm really looking forward to this. Let me stop my share, and then Derek, you can take over um,
Thank-
the virtual
Thanks,
floor.
thanks, Menno. Thanks, Menno. My audio is on, yes, and
Yep, yep.
Benita and Tanya, so nice to have you with me as well. I was telling Menno I believe in the motto "small is all," and so it's very nice having a smaller classroom. As you were saying, Benito, it's sometimes nicer being teaching a small class than actually teaching a massive one. Just referring to your email earlier on. So I have got a terrible habit of using big words, and as I say to everybody, I'm not an academic. I'm an ed techie, and ed techies who use big words should be locked up because they don't really quite understand what they're saying. But I'm hoping that there are cleverer people in the room here than me, and that we will come to an understanding of what is maybe meant by epistemic opacity, or maybe what other people want us to understand by the term epistemic opacity. But let me start my screen share and find my presentation. Um, where are we? Oh, just too many um, screens open. Okay, let's make that full screen. Okay, right. Outline just so you know what to expect. If we've got such a small class, I think we can have mics. What do you think, Mena? Can we have mics on if people really have questions, or shall we leave it to the end?
No, I think we can also have just ongoing discussion if you prefer that. So normally when I present, I don't
I'm
see
very
what's going on. So, um, but it's whatever you prefer.
guys. I'm very happy with interruptions. I need to just make sure that I've got my time right and that I don't run out. But we have got an hour altogether. Hey, Mena. So we've got 15 minutes left.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, let's make a start. And to those who've just entered the room, welcome. I didn't greet you personally. I see we have 8 participants now. It's really nice to have you here. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with me. Um, if you want to take notes, you're welcome to take them on the Etherpad. I've put a few prompts over there. We might add some more. I'm going to introduce you to the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. Already, you might see that we're going into kind of contentious naming territory. I'm going to introduce you to Onke, Stephanie, and Menno. And Menno, I'm afraid I'm going to focus on you. You might find it a little embarrassing, but I'm hoping just to show people how I think you are using the knowledge graph. I hope that'll be fine. And then I'd like to introduce you to finally this word called epistemic opacity. Um, right. So there's my big title, Epistemic Opacity over Communicable Reasoning. And you'll notice that there are three logos there. The one in the middle is Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is available, as you know, in 350 languages. The one on the top left, I've adjusted slightly. I've focused Wikidata on the shape of Africa. And I think Africa as a continent has an amazing amount of languages that are spoken. And I think Wikidata offers some interesting approaches to languages. And on the right-hand side, you'll see another logo, and that logo refers to Wikimedia Commons. And that's a commons, that's a place where media files are stored. And so when you read a Wikipedia page, you don't really always realize this, but you actually are drawing on stuff from Wikimedia Commons. All the pictures are actually sitting on Wikimedia Commons. And then there's also Wikidata numbers that are behind each page and each link. Okay, so hopefully I've, in a nutshell, explained Wikipedia, but you've got to experience really to see what you're doing there. Okay, does anyone recognize this map? Yes? No? If we zoomed out, which I'm not going to do, you would see Florida, you would see a bit of Texas, you'd see a bit of Mexico, you'd see what we call the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not sure. I know what. I'll go to Google and see what it says. Or should I go to OpenStreetMap and see what it says? Which answer is right? I'm not too sure. Okay, well, if I go to Google and I go to Google Maps, then I will find that I can't make any contribution to the discussion as to what its name is, and it is called. Well, they've done a fudge, really. They've called it the Gulf of Mexico, and in brackets they call it the Gulf of America. Well, let's go to OpenStreetMaps and take a look there and see what they say about the Gulf and what it's called. Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. President Donald Trump said during his inauguration he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Aside from the political aspects, how does that work? How does OpenStreetMaps choose a source for that? I'm curious. Okay, can we see the slight difference between the two? The previous one, no one was allowed to make any comment. It was an executive decision as to what the Gulf was. On OpenStreetMaps, if you go to this page, you'll see there's a long discussion about it. And everyone are just giving their 2 cents worth of opinion on it. I think I prefer that. Okay, I'm going to be talking ultimately about something called the knowledge graph. Okay, and a knowledge graph consists of raw data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. The knowledge graph is a word, again, another horrible big word that I seem to be using a lot at the moment. But the knowledge graph shapes the results that we see on Google. And whether it be a Google map or it be Google search, the knowledge graph has a disproportionate effect. And I'm going to be showing you that hopefully through Menno's example. Right, hopefully we're on the same page at the moment. Okay, I'd like to introduce you to a recent author that I met, a man called Onke Mazibuko. And if you look up Onke Mazibuko on Wikipedia, you'll see he has a Wikipedia page. Confess I wrote it. If you go to Wikidata, wikidata.org, and you look for Onke Mazibuko, you'll also see that he has a Wikidata page, and you'll also see this single picture of him that I took at the local bookstore and then uploaded it to Commons. And if you Google Onke, you'll see that this photo appears amongst the others. Stephanie is a very good friend of mine. She's an academic here at Wits University. She also is on the knowledge graph. And if you look carefully after you've Googled Stephanie, you might see a number that says KGMID. That stands for Knowledge Graph Machine Identifier. And Stephanie actually then, if that number is used in an appropriate format on Google, then all of Stephanie's research and presence is associated with that. So she has a very nice digital footprint. And the third one is the host for today, Menno. And Menno also is on the knowledge graph. And if you Google Menno, you'll see a very nice profile for him. And we will unpack that then as we go on. So what is a knowledge graph then? Well, it's a graph of data intended to accumulate and convey knowledge of the real world, whose nodes represent entities of interest and whose edges represent potentially different relationships between these entities. Yes, like, why do I do this to myself? Another complicated definition. A graph of data. Okay, well, I mean, graphs, we have our x-axes and our y-axes. I'm not a mathematician, I'm a historian. But I also did do a bit of ICT teaching when I taught in England. And so we talked a bit about graphs. And edtechies have to be used to graphs. Okay, it tended to accumulate, convey knowledge. Oh, I can see that. So a graph will show growth over time, perhaps, or you'll be able to compare things with it. Whose nodes, okay, those are the little points on the graph. Yeah, that makes sense. Represent entities of interest. Okay, so I'm interested in those little nodes and its growth, and the edges represent potentially different relations between those entities. So the shapes around those things change things. Let's see if we can carry on and see if we can make more sense. On the Etherpad, I have another definition of knowledge graph. And if you go to Wikipedia, you'll find a couple of definitions of knowledge graphs. But there are a couple of words that for me stand out in that. Edges, nodes, and properties are three words that, and relations kind of stand out. And perhaps maybe this graphic might explain things a bit more. I mean, all of us are familiar with a digital object identifier, I think. And if you use these DOIs, you can find resources. We're also maybe a bit familiar with our ORC IDs. I'm not sure if everyone is, but we're also familiar with ISBN numbers. And perhaps we also know a little bit about geolocation and sharing pins and perhaps ISBN numbers as well. Okay, so what I'm getting at is we have all these little nodes that are connected to each other. Okay, and what this is really called is it's called, I think, the semantic web. Wikidata is the place where you actually start to discover the semantic web. But let's see. As I say, I'm attempting my communicable reasoning. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I get it horribly wrong. Sometimes my two daughters just say, "Dad, you just don't understand." So that's probably right most of the time. Okay, let's move on to Menno. So this is Menno's Wikipedia article. And Menno, I like the photograph of you, and it gives a nice background to Menno. But I'm not going to focus really much on the text there. I'm going to focus on a little number that is associated with Menno. And you can see I've highlighted it. It is QID 9546497. And that little number pulls all the information in Menno's info box in that info box on the right-hand side into the Wikipedia page. Okay, so it's a very interesting mechanism to populate a little box of information. So this is what we call Menno's Wikidata number. And if I go into a couple of knowledge panels or knowledge, no, they're not knowledge graphs, but knowledge panels, they will give me a more maybe comprehensive picture of Menno. I'm not sure if you've heard of this site. It's popular in the Wikipedia world. It's called Scholia. And
Sorry,
if
Derek,
I go to Scholia and use,
can I
yes,
quickly interrupt? Because you're going a bit too quickly. So in the previous page, how did you get that code view?
okay. Sorry, man. I beg your pardon. That is so irritating on me. Yes, I'm glad you asked. Um, thank you very much. Okay. Oh, crap. I hate it when I do this. I make too many assumptions and I need to take it a bit slowly. Thanks, Menno, for asking. And anyone, please feel free to interrupt. If things don't make sense to you, just say, Derek, slow down, and I will do my best. Okay, so what we're doing over here, Menno, is once you have logged into Wikipedia, then you will be able to see the Wikipedia page that you will want to edit. And you will see up at the top, there will be the option of edit page. And once you have clicked on edit page, then you can look at different views of the page. So you can look at the code view, or you can look at the WYSIWYG view. And what I've done over here is I'm looking at the code view on the left, and then it shows me the WYSIWYG view. But sometimes the code view doesn't explain everything that you see in the WYSIWYG view. So that info box person Wikidata, fetch Wikidata all QID, that is a template that is telling Wikipedia to fetch all information about you and place it in that info box. Does that make sense so far, or
Yeah,
shall I
cool. Okay,
try another
yeah,
way?
yeah. No, this makes sense. I didn't know that. Yeah, thanks. This is good.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I make all these assumptions and it annoys the heck out of me and my family. So please, when I do that as well, it's very irritating, and I need to just kind of slap myself constantly. Okay, so Menno's Wikidata number then is Q95464927. And Menno, you are far more than a number, but that is one of the many identifiers that are around that gives humans and computers perhaps a little bit of more of an insight into who you are. Um, and I've shown you one tool called Scholia that the Wikipedia world uses. Another one is called Resonator. And this one, you'll notice, uses Menno's Wikidata number, but instead of writing it in English, it writes it in Menno's don't know if it's your mother tongue or your home language. What would you call it, Menno? And anyway,
Yeah, both.
it's the language that Menno is would have spoken as a young boy or as a young person. But what I like about it is the fact that his number doesn't change, but information about him then gets automatically translated, because what Wikidata allows us to do is it uses lexemes. And oh crap! Don't ask me to explain lexemes. You guys are far better than that. That really has kind of confused the heck out of me. But I think I know Settler folk are far cleverer than me, and they understand that lexemes far better than I do. Anyway, that's the translation. But we can find out more about Menno, and we can use something called wiki documentaries. And wiki documentaries then allows us to actually create a timeline of things. I'm just checking any chat to see if there are any questions. Okay, cool. No, we've got nothing there. Okay, good. Right. And it offers a narrative around Menno, and again, it's based on his Wikidata number. Okay, let's see if we can move forward. So this is Menno then on Wikidata. And if I go into wikidata.org and type in Menno von Zanen, or I use that number, then I will find all these identifiers associated with him. Some identifiers are visual, some identifiers are ORC ID, some of his publications, all of those kind of fit together to create Menno's knowledge graph. Now, what I'm very pleased to see is Menno is not just passive on Wikipedia, he actually is a little bit active. And if I look carefully up at the top at Menno's at a username MV I realize that Menno has actually been on Wikidata and has got a profile there. And I think that's great. I think people are using Wikidata then to establish their digital footprints and to share their work openly with others. And I don't see too many South African academics doing that yet. I'm not sure why. If you look up Derek J. Moore, you'll find me there as well. There are a couple, but not many. But Menno basically then can edit his knowledge graph as well. So I've been talking about Wikidata without really explaining it properly. And so let me take a step back and make sure that we are on the same page with Wikidata. Wikidata is a free and open knowledge base that can be read and edited by both humans and machines. My text is covered over there by my, but I think I'm making it right. Wikidata functions as the central database for a variety of wiki projects, including Wikipedia, Wiktionary, Wikisource, amongst others. Okay, so this sounds very much like Wikipedia, but it's on data and it's both free and open. And humans and machines use it. Okay, well, that's quite cool. Let's jump down to the third paragraph. Wikidata contains various data types, text, images, quantities, coordinates, geographic shapes, dates. Now, that sounds really interesting because what that means is I can make perhaps a photograph album with the images, or perhaps with quantities, I can make a comparison in graph form, or coordinates. Maybe I can make a map. Geographic shape. Well, I've just been exploring that, and that's actually been hell of a fun. I've been using something called GeoJSON to draw maps and to draw maps around places that I live or places that I'm interested, and dates. Well, as a historian, I love dates, and it's very easy to create a timeline then from Wikidata. And you've seen some of those examples that I've shown. So the data can be queried via a query interface called Sparkle, okay, which we'll cover later in the session. Well, we won't really, but you'll find it out. And Sparkle is a very exciting way of actually querying information. I don't think I'll be able to do it today, but I'm very happy to show you how to do that. Most importantly, Wikidata can be interlinked to other open data sets on the linked data web. Okay, so that idea of a semantic web, that you remember the brain shape, it's linkable to other data sets. Okay, so Wikidata numbers are read by machines. These are the amount of items in Wikidata. It's enormous. Menno can identify his identifiers, sorry, can edit his identifiers. And what I think, and I've took a long time to understand this on the left-hand side, but essentially these identifiers are metadata that publishers use associated with your work. And it doesn't seem like we have too many identifiers in South Africa. These identifiers seem to be dominated by the global north, and I'm not sure why. But I think we need a few more local identifiers if we're going to kind of be shaping the knowledge graph a bit better. So you've seen the dots, but you can't see the lines. You've seen the load, you see the nodes, but the edges aren't always clear. Okay, well, let's go on to Google. And I've, on purpose, trying to contrast Wikidata and how I think there's some kind of clarity there, and Google, where I struggle to see some of the pictures. Okay, so this is Menno once we have Googled him. And Menno van Zaan, professor of linguistics, nice picture. I like the picture of you and your wife, Menno. I think it's a great one there. Okay, and if you look further on down, you'll see that there's more stuff about him, and some of the stuff that he does. Um, you'll see that yes, introductions as well. You'll see that his profiles are there, but some of this information is being pulled from Google's knowledge graph, but some of that information is also being pulled from Wikidata's knowledge graph because in about 2013 or 2015, maybe, Google gave up on its Freebase, which was its knowledge graph, and shifted onto Wikidata. And some of the information that appears here is being pulled from Wikidata. Okay, let's carry on and see a little bit further. There we have Menno. Okay. Now, how do I find Menno's knowledge graph MID? Well, this is quite a useful trick to know. Um, if you go up to the URL bar up at the top, you'll see that KGMID that I referred to you earlier on, Knowledge Graph Machine Identifier. And you'll see G11BC7 underscore GK8I. That basically is your knowledge graph. And the way to get it is you just click on those three little dots, and then you click share. And once you have clicked share, you'll see a little link comes up at the bottom, and you copy that link and you plug it into your URL bar. And once you've plugged it into your URL bar, that link transforms itself into that knowledge graph, into that KGMID. And then that is how you appear on Google's knowledge graph. And these pictures really are Google's knowledge panel. And they are being drawn from the various sources that Google pulls things from. Now, what is okay, let me do few more questions. Oh, it's not your wife. Oh, dear. Oh, I'm now in trouble. How that's funny. I don't know how to get that off. Okay, thank you, Meta. I'm being recorded. Oh, crap. Okay, now I'm in big trouble. Who is it, Meta? Anyway, it's a nice picture. You know what I like? You know what I like is the assumptions that you make when you see these things, these pictures or these words, and you think you really understand what's going on. And then those assumptions are constantly destroyed by actually having a conversation with a person. And to me, this is the fascinating thing about this web is in our heads, we make assumptions when we look at something, and we then find our assumptions kind of blown out the water, just like what's happened now. Okay, now what is interesting about Menno thing is you see this picture says claim this knowledge panel. And if you are on Google and you do have a knowledge graph MID, you can actually claim this knowledge panel. And when I clicked on claim this knowledge panel, this was the message that I got. Someone is already managing Menno from Zanen on Google. And Menno, I hope that is you that is managing it, because then you are managing your digital footprints. And to me, that's the best way forward. So Menno van Zanen, all these nice pictures. You'll see a couple of those pictures. Yes, you'll see a couple of those pictures are being drawn from a few sources, but some of them are actually coming from Wikipedia as well. And in this case, I'm not sure if any are coming from Wikimedia, because I don't know if you have got a picture on Wikipedia, Menno, but you have got quite a nice footprint over there. But if you had, oh, those, oh, what am I trying to say there? Oh, those are the pictures on Wikimedia Commons. Okay, that one is the one on Wikimedia Commons, and that then other people can use in a profile shot. Because Menno has licensed it openly, it can appear in a whole lot of places. And yeah, that's what it looks like. Easy to upload, just like uploading any other file. But what is interesting is we can start thinking of ways to kind of interlink our information. And I think I hinted at this earlier on when we were looking at code view of the info box. And I said there was a template that kind of shaped the info box that appeared on the right-hand side. There are a range of templates that Wikipedia uses. This one is a template called Creator, and it actually then allows the person who is on Commons to add their knowledge panel onto Commons. And again, it pulls in all the key information um, to the page. So Menno has a Wikipedia page, Wikidata page, and a Wikimedia Commons page. He has Wikidata identifiers, and he has media files. Okay, and the combination then allows us to start to see how this knowledge graph around, well, it says Onke because I didn't change it to Menno, but how this knowledge graph then represents how people come to know on Google or Wikipedia about Menno. Now, it's not only on Google. If I went to ChatGPT and asked it about Menno, it would give me interesting results. And if you look at it, you'll see that there are quite a lot of similarities to what I've been showing you on Wikidata. And I'm just making an assumption here, but my guess is ChatGPT is scraping not only Wikipedia, but also Wikidata. And that information then is being used to explain who Menno is. This is what AI says are references about him. For me, it's always interesting to see the references always have question mark UTM source ChatGPT. It tells me immediately where people found the resource from. If I want to hide my dodgy time on ChatGPT, and I do spend far too much time on it, then I just delete that question UTM source equals. Okay, so let's see if we can get this a little bit more in detail. And I haven't wrapped my head around this properly, but this is how. And I'm sorry, I've got the reference in the comments down below. I'll have to share that later. But this was, I think, a nice, interesting graphic representation that explains how the knowledge graph is formed. So you remember the idea earlier on, we talked about structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. That's our raw data or unprocessed data that goes in. The named entity recognition, attribute extraction, relation extraction. That really is those little numbers that we talked about, those identifiers, and how they relate to each other. I am a staff member at Northwest University. My ORC ID is so and so. I have published this book with the following ISBN number. Do you see what's happening? That information is being aligned and fused. And then there's what we call kind of ontology construction. Yes, like Derek. More big words. Ontology construction, coming to know how you know, perhaps. Is that a way of explaining ontology construction? Those pictures of Scholia or the knowledge panels, that's how we come to know. Let me think of another way of explaining it. As a historian, we talk about BC and AD, and we talk about timelines. And in our minds, the world is divided into two epochs, before Christ and after Christ, or at least at one time, historians used to see that. But there was an ontology for understanding the world. Yeah, does that work? I don't know. Let's go into science. Is the table of elements an ontology for understanding chemistry? Perhaps. Maybe it's a way of understanding things. Maps. Are there ways of understanding maps that are common and standardized? Those knowledge graphs. I don't know. I suppose this is a colloquium. This is where we discuss and talk those things. I wish I knew the answers. Okay, and then logic rules representation of learning and neural networks is what comes out, and that's what I think AI is pulling on. So at last, we come to this word that has been bedeviling us this whole time: epistemic opacity. And guess where I find the definition? On Grokopedia. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a slight prejudice against Grokopedia, and it might be irrational, but Elon Musk is yes, he's a South African, he's from Pretoria, but I don't I don't see the world the same way as he does. Um, and I'm not sure if the Wikipedia alternative that he has funded is going to be something that I quite agree with. So let's unpack this. Epistemic opacity is a concept in the philosophy of science and computation that describes the fundamental barriers to fully understanding complex computational processes, where certain essential details remain structurally inaccessible to human cognition, even with unlimited time and resources. I'm afraid that's bullshit. We can understand things. He's wrong. I mean, it takes a long time to understand things, sometimes a hell of a difficult. But to make remain structurally inaccessible to human cognition, rubbish. You've built it that way. Anyway, it just annoys me sometimes. Okay, well, let me go to Wikidata and let me look for epistemic opacity. And I will find articles about epistemic opacity. But if I go to Wikipedia, I won't find an article about epistemic opacity. That's weird. Well, that's up to you and me. When are we going to start contributing to Wikipedia to make sure people understand some of the very big words that we use in our field? Thank you. That's all
Wonderful.
from me.
Thank you, Derek. That was really interesting. So just for all of you, a disclaimer. So I really did not ask Derek to take me as an example. Um,
No, it's my fault.
and and the funny thing is, a while ago he asked me, do I want to put up all this information so that I can get a sense of how all of this works, this Wikidata, um, and I now understand why he was asking me to do that. Um,
I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I hope it wasn't embarrassing. But you really are a great example of somebody who seems to have got your head around this.
no, so I was actually wondering. So I don't see any questions in the chat. I think people are still getting their heads around this. Um, so I was actually wondering. So I know that I've done a few things because you kind of pushed me to, take a look at this here and add some information here. I was actually wondering, how do you find out what to do where and how? So I know that I struggled a bit with this Wikidata, and at some point you get the hang of it. But how do I know that I need to go to Wikidata, or when do I need to go to Google, or when do I need to where do you start?
I wish I had the answer to you, Menno, because I really think when I've started learning Wikidata, I have been so flipping confused. And it's only a bit like babbling, like a child does, that you start to actually make sense of things. So, for example, I in my head now know that a library is Q7075. And I know that if I'm searching for libraries and their geolocations, I use Q7075 and I think it's P625. Now you're listening to me and saying, what gibberish is this man talking? But these are those three things that kind of that make up the semantic web. They are the nodes, the edges, and the properties. And it really is just a matter of playing around and trying to make sense of it. I think for me, what helped the most was actually starting to understand Sparkle. And I think most of us have come across SQL language, server query language, and Sparkle is really a meta language that allows you to search multiple databases. And so you can do a Sparkle query for cats, okay? But then you can change your Sparkle query to a query for dogs. Or else you can change your Sparkle query to query people's first name and then query people's last name. And so what I did recently was I looked for the Derek Moore Club and I created a Sparkle query to see how many Derek Moores there were on Wikipedia. And that was how I started to wrap my head around it. But I'm hoping, I'm hoping I'm going to hit lucky because I've got a scholarship to go to France for the Wikimania event in July, and I'm hoping to go to Berlin to meet the Wikidata folk. And I learn far better when I actually talk to somebody and don't only read their stuff. And hopefully they'll be able to help me explain Wikidata a little bit more. Mena, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think the real answer is just you need to start playing with it, and you need to just
You
yeah.
it's another language, and the only way to learn another language is to start playing with it and add things. So, for example, if you find epistemic opacity doesn't have a Wikidata number, create a Wikidata number for it, and start building it up that way. Grokpedia, and I might be wrong, but Grokpedia doesn't allow people like you and me to do anything to it. It's controlled by a couple of administrators, where Wikipedia allows and Wikidata allows anyone to participate in it. Hein, you've got a question about, can you tell us how to find the knowledge graph MID? Do you want me to go over it again? Let me. Hein, are you still here? Okay, let me do that. What I'll try and do, Hein, is I'm going to stop my sharing, and I'm going to see if I can find the screen where I well, first one before that, I just want to quickly share um, this URL where we can perhaps start working on a draft for epistemic opacity. But then, Hein, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I was doing, and Menno is far more clearer on his um, appearance on the knowledge graph. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see if I can show my example, and then we'll see if we can get that going. Okay, Derek Moore, and I'll share my screen now. Just finding my knowledge graph number that I've stored in Wikidata. Okay, here it is. Okay, let me go back onto share screen. Share. Okay, there we go. Okay, Hein, do you see that? Let's make it full. Let's make it full if we can. That looks a bit better. Okay, do you see what we've got over here? So I searched for Derek Moore, and I jigged things a little bit. I actually probably cheated, because if I search for myself normally, I don't find myself. But because um, there are different ways of kind of discovering a knowledge graph, that is that well, there are a range of ways of doing it. This is the easiest way to do if you appear on a result, okay? But I can show you other ways to do it as well. if I click on these three dots, then this little button comes up that says share. If I copy that share and place it in the URL bar and hit enter, then that knowledge graph number KG, whatever it is, let's see if my bar is all the way. That then is the knowledge graph number that kind of allows Google to classify me and to say who this person is. And what I find quite fun about this is I try to mess with Google a little bit because I'll give you an example. Okay, so that's me. I was born in 1968, but I'm not 58 years. I'm 57. They got it wrong because I didn't put my exact date of birth. Okay, they got that wrong. Children. Well, I have two children. Anyone who knows me from Facebook knows I've got two children. But I asked my youngest, Cara, do you want to be on the knowledge graph? She said, no ways, Dad. And I said, oh, okay. And I asked Anna, and she said, yes, of course. So Anna appears there, but not Cara, and that's absolutely fine with me because it's a decision I made. And I asked my children, and it's far more important what my children want than what Google wants. And my partner, well, that's Jean, and she's an academic. And once you get into that academic game, those punks like to, sorry, no, those libraries. No, I don't know who they are. They like to kind of put you onto all these systems, and Gene appears there automatically. But that information there is being pulled from Wikidata. Does that explain? Hein?
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
So if you don't have a little number and thing that comes up there, the other way of doing it would be to right-click your screen and to go view page source, and then you just do a search and you go /G/, and you will see a number that comes up regularly. And you'll see that number, let me just move you out the way. Yeah, there it is. It's the same number each time. That is my knowledge graph number as well. So that's another way of kind of capturing it. And then what you do is, if you were on Wikidata, you would go into Wikidata, Wikidata, and go into your ID. So I'm just going to add, I'll show you mine, but Dirk Moore. And if I carry on down here, you will see that then as one of my identifiers on Wikidata, I have got my knowledge graph ID over there. Does that help?
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions that have I agree with your statement that this can all be quite confusing, and it seems that your information just keeps on proliferating to new places all the time. Yeah, thanks for the comment. We are part of Tanya. I agree entirely, and I agree entirely with your background noise, and maybe not necessarily physical noise that you're experiencing, but that kind of combination of signal versus noise is a huge thing. So you might be experiencing background noise literally, but I think the world has become a very noisy place, and trying to find signals are very hard. It is confusing, and I do think it's something that somebody could do for you. But I have the sense that when you outsource your digital footprints to someone else, you give them the means of production, and you are not as in control as you'd like. But having said that, if anybody wants me to assist, and to help put them on the web and to improve their digital footprints or their identifiers, and you are willing to trust me, then I'll be very willing to help. Any tips on to manage this confusion? Look, I wish I knew. As you can see, I think what I've given up on is being right. I'm constantly wrong, and I constantly have to reassess my assumptions and my beliefs. And when I'm happy with actually admitting that I'm often wrong, maybe that's the first step to managing the confusion. But maybe that's one way. The other way that I look at things is I like to think that we don't live in a universe, but we live in a pluriverse. And a pluriverse is this idea that there are multiple ways of seeing the world, and there's not just one way of seeing it. And if I can understand that other people see things quite differently from me and try to understand the reason why they understand those things quite differently to me, curiosity is possibly a way to manage confusion. I don't know if that helps.
I can perhaps add a little bit because Derek, you asked me a while ago to add the information to Wikidata just to get a sense of what it does and how it works. So I created an account on Wikidata, and then I was struggling with the interface a little bit. You just have to play around a little bit, adding information about myself. But at some point you get a sense of, okay, this is how I can add information. And the nice thing, what I felt is that I can decide what kind of information I want to put on there. So
Yes.
it's a little bit, you get a little bit of sense. So Google finds all kinds of stuff about you online now, even if other people publish with your name or something. But here you have the idea, I'm making sure that the information I put in here is correct. And I put only in here what I want to be put in here. So it gives that sense of I'm a little bit more in control again. And I think that, so it takes a while practically to work with this. It's not always easiest to add information. I remember I thought it would be nice to add the names of the PhD students that I supervised, but they were not on Wikidata yet, so I had to create new entities with their names. So it's not always easy, but yeah, you get the sense I'm in control again. I think that's what helped me.
Yeah, and certainly when you start to see this idea of the semantic web and how things are interconnected, it offers quite a different perspective. And I don't think this necessarily solves anything. But for example, I can see, I go to Bill Clinton's Wikidata number, and I can see who he's married to, and I can see his family, and I can see all the relationships that he has. And I can do the same thing for Donald Trump, and I can do the same thing for Nelson Mandela. So it gives you kind of a picture of the relationships, whether they be family relationships, whether they be geographical relationships. It is just another way of seeing the world. And again, I'm not sure if that way of seeing the world is right, but it is another. It's perhaps it's better than just relying on Brocopedia.
No, I agree. Thanks, Derek. I'm not sure if there are any more questions. We're slowly running out of time. I thought this was very, very nice.
I can maybe just thank Derek.
Me too.
I see Tanya is commenting about curiosity and time, and also taking up Derek. I assume she means he's offered to help her get her
Yes,
Wikidata page.
of course.
And I think it will definitely, I want to say my, what can I say, limited experience of this universe as part of the pluriverse. First of all, I saw a meme saying, um, Earth has the most titles in the Miss Universe competition, so no other planet has a title. But besides that, with orc IDs, I want to say this is okay. This is a level that is not comparable to orc IDs, but when I started or registered an orc ID, it was, I want to say, the first time I didn't need to do everything by hand. It's
Yes, yes.
still it's still an exercise to get your publications there. It's not always a seamless process because we publish with different names, and that's what the org ID, as far as I understand, try to um, mediate or remediate. I don't know. So this is just on a level that is like you say, you making decisions about adding data, but I think definitely um, having it in one place and also what can I say? Having this overview and not to tell people how connected you are, how great you are, but it's a form of a CV that you can also employ other people to not employ, but they are free to add things that you might have forgotten. So, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Derek, and also thank you for all the big words. I made a list.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Now we need big words. Some things, big words for big concepts. It makes sense.
Oh, pleasure. Benito, it's been so nice seeing you and here. Thanks for coming. I did do a bit of sleuthing on your name, and your digital footprint. Your digital footprint is superb, and you don't need a Wikidata number at the moment. You really do have a nice consistency to your footprint. So well done.
Oh, I do what I can with the little I have, Derek.
Good man.
Okay. Hey, thanks. We're running out of time here, but thank you so much, Derek, for really a wonderful presentation. It is, I think, something for all of us to go and look a little bit more into. But thank you so much.
Pleasure. Pleasure. It's been nice being with you all, and thank you for your time.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks. And
And if sorry, Menno, and last
oh, yeah,
thing, Menno, if
sure.
anybody is needing a Wikipedian in residence, and that's somebody who can actually assist librarians or assist folk, I'm very happy to act in that regard. So Wikipedian in residence are common in global North universities. There aren't too many over here, but if anyone's looking for that, please feel free to contact me.
Okay, wonderful. And I can find your contact details on your Wikidata page, I guess.
Yeah, they can do that, or else they can just email me weblearning@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, Derek.
Thanks,
I
Menno.
wish all
Thanks
of
for the
you the
invitation.
rest of a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thanks all. Cheers.